What is up, Macomb? It's that time again, every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. It is C4 Sports, the very best in sports talk. It's the usual crew plus one. We're C5 tonight because we have a special guest sitting on the show. I am Matt. That is at LManMatt93.
I am at Nobody Finer.
I'm Ryan, and I'm at Mason_IL Chief.
And you already know who it is, your boy Darius Hawkins, and I am at the_Hawk_13.
And we also got Pierce Roberson in the house, the director, the head honcho at 88.3 The Dog as well.
I do what I can.
I'm trying to figure out if C5 is still explosive. I'm looking it up, and they really helping me out.
I believe whereas C4 probably would have just blew up Salee Hall, C5 would have killed the entire campus.
Okay, I can rock with that.
I like that.
That's fine with me. Google cannot give you that. I'm fine with that. That's cool with me.
All right, so to start off the show, we will do what we normally do, give you guys the lowdown on Western sports. We got no home games coming up, at least this weekend. It is all away. The home games will start up next week. We have Friday, March 21st, baseball. You guys are, I guess, home versus Butler, but that will be played in Jacksonville. That's at 1 p.m. Then Saturday, the 22nd, is track and field is at SIU Edwardsville. That's in Edwardsville, and that's an all-day event. Softball is at IUPUI in Indianapolis. That is at 12 p.m. Men's tennis is at South Dakota State, which will be played, I guess, at Fort Wayne, Indiana. At 12 p.m., men's soccer is at Loyola, Chicago, and that will be also in Evanston, Illinois at 1 p.m. Softball is once again at IUPUI. That's in Indianapolis at 2 p.m. Men's soccer is at Kennedy King City College. That is in Chicago, Illinois at 5 p.m.
Wait. Did you say Kennedy King College?
Yep.
Wow.
That is who the men's soccer team is playing this Saturday.
That actually is a surprise. That kind of threw me off.
Exactly.
I know. I was not expecting to hear that name.
As a Chicago boy, that really just threw me off. If we lose, I'm going to be very
So there you go. We got a challenge for the soccer team to not embarrass us and lose that game.
Should embarrass them. Ain't no us in this.
I try and lump us all in together for some attempt at school spirit. Just an attempt.
I understand that. I apologize, soccer team.
Hey, I used to cover the soccer team. I love those boys. They're my boys. But if they lose, Kennedy King College.
Yeah, they're going to hear it.
I didn't even know they were a soccer team. I didn't know they had an athletic team.
I didn't either.
Well, there you go. The Kennedy King does have a soccer team. And that'll round out the games for Saturday. Then Sunday, the 23rd, we have men's tennis, which is at Fort Wayne, Indiana, at 9 a.m. Baseball will be, once again, against Butler in Jacksonville at 12 p.m. Softball is at IUPUI, still in Indianapolis at 12 p.m. And then baseball, you got one more game against Butler at Jacksonville at 2:30. So we're going to kick it over right now to start the show to our inside source into the Western Illinois Leatherneck baseball team, Mr. Adam Finer.
All right, for this weekend, we're down in Jacksonville, so we technically call it a home game for us, even though hour 30 away from Macomb. We're playing Butler. We're not sure of their record. They aren't doing too hot as well. Been working on a lot of just fundamentals this week, getting back to the basics. Throwing strikes for pitchers, footwork for catchers, and just making contact. There's been too many free bases, too many just mistakes to stay competitive. We have played a very difficult schedule, 43rd in the nation for Division I so far. We've played a couple of Missouri Valley teams, and they're very competitive in Illinois State, Indiana State, and even SIU down in Louisiana. So we've played a tough schedule, but we feel confident. I mean, the mood is uplifting, per se. We don't, you wouldn't think of it coming from our record.
Well, I'm surprised you guys have such a tough schedule.
Yeah, our head coach came over from Iowa, before last year, so he kind of wanted to beef up the schedule a little bit, and it attracts prospects, it attracts JUCO guys, it attracts more attention. And a little side note, once we play those bigger colleges, we get more money.
Oh, there you go.
It's like the football thing.
Of course, our school cannot say no to more money. There's something we have learned. How much was the sign? $500,000? I believe it was.
Yes.
In the millions?
Yes.
I've heard multiple numbers. Nobody can pinpoint.
We're working for News 3. I can confirm that. Yes, it is a higher 6-7 figure range.
All right. Well, there we go. Once again, more exclusives right here
Yeah,
on
exactly.
C4
That's
Sports.
what we do.
So-
I personally would like to see some of that money personally in my pocket. So I mean, if we gonna really be exclusive, how about we be exclusive to
We
my?
gotta pay back Sally Mae when we graduate. This is
Yeah,
not-
exactly. So, Western, y'all can also please remember y'all can donate to the Darius Hawkins Dream Fund. That's dreams as far as basketball dreams, radio dreams. When you sleep and you dream, anything you want to pay, just donate to me. If you have any questions on how to reach me, I'm always accessible to find. I have a Cowboys jacket on. It's not hard to find me. Cash only though, straight cash, homie. That's the only way we do this.
All right. So, well, Darius Hawkins Foundation commercial aside, and
There we
what else other than more money can we expect from the baseball team?
I think you can expect a couple wins this weekend, actually. I'm not going to go Joe Namath, Broadway Joe, and say
Yeah.
we are going to win, but I think you're going to see a better effort. Effort's been a key point this week in practice also, so I think a better effort will lead to more energy, and more energy will equal more wins.
All right. So we wish you guys the best of luck. Who do you think will come out of the Summit League, or what conference are we in for baseball?
We're in
I'm
the
not entirely
Summit.
Sure. All right, Summit League. That's what I thought. Who do you think the best team is? Who will be our toughest opponent
boy.
this year?
South Dakota State won the league last year and went out to Eugene and actually beat number 8 Oregon last year, so they're always a contender. They graduated a lot, but I actually have a buddy that made the team out there.
Okay.
So, and he's telling me it's a lot of good young talent. I think you can expect good things from them. Omaha always has a good program with that baseball culture around that area. And then the Indiana schools are getting there. Fort Wayne and IUPUI they were kind of competitive last year, but I think they're on the brink. They're kind of like us. They're
Okay.
vying for legitimacy in the conference.
Okay, because I would think Omaha would be pretty good because that's where the College World Series is, I
Yep.
believe, right? Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, and you got Creighton right
Yeah.
there, and I mean, just really good baseball in that area.
Because I've been through there once on my way back from Colorado back in like middle school, and I saw the stadium where they have the College World Series. That was pretty impressive for college baseball. It was pretty cool, but that's kind of what I thought. I thought that kind of region would be maybe, I don't want to say a little bit better than they are, but you would think they'd kind of be more of a powerhouse. And I was not aware either that San Diego State beat Oregon last year. That's actually pretty impressive, pretty good for the conference.
Yeah, it reflected well. I mean, I actually knew I was going to Western at that point and was going to try to walk on. So I mean, it was cool to see a team in the conference go far. Just boost up the conference's rep as far as the nation's standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. So as usual, we have our baseball insider because if you've listened before, you know we're just a show full of exclusives. So thanks, Adam, for the inside info, and good luck in your upcoming games as usual. Hopefully we can pick up some wins.
Yes.
And once you guys are back home, I can't wait for you guys to get back home because it's always
Right.
fun to go see a game out there if the weather can finally keep nice and warm.
I don't think it's the weather. I think it's the field. I think that's the reason why they canceled.
Do you
the
think
game.
so?
Yeah. They were saying something. I forget what they were saying about the field. I don't know if it's the infield or outfield, but I think that's why I heard on the radio why they pushed the games down to Jacksonville.
Because these are neutral site games technically.
Exclusively, it is the infield.
It is the
It's
infield.
just a little too spongy yet.
Okay.
We got clay in the infield, so it just.
Well, who does do you know who does like the field, like a grounds crew, something like that?
Not really. The coaching staff does
Coaching
a nice
okay.
job with it. I mean, and we're trying to.
And speaking of baseball fields possibly not being ready, have you guys checked out USO the field? I still call it Comiskey Park. It's still Comiskey Park to me. But yeah, the White Sox, we have a struggling time getting ready for opening day. You got a little bit over a week, but that infield they're saying is not ready. They said they removed over 5 tons of snow
Wow.
off the field, not the entire stadium, just the field.
Yeah, I read something about that as a Sox fan. I saw it on my news feed coming up from like Comcast Chicago, but I didn't read into it. But that's surprising because I know the White Sox are supposed to have one of the better grounds crew in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
So I did not see that.
Yeah, I mean, and hopefully they do get it off because I know baseball in Chicago. Although it might not seem to be the best. Even as a Cubs fan, I love going to Sox games. I love checking out the cell and watching the Sox on the field. It'd be terrible if we have to wait another week for baseball in Chicago.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad.
Start the torture now.
Well, that's kind of been my goal. I don't know, because listening to two baseball experts on the show, we don't have much to expect out of Chicago baseball this year. But as a Sox fan, if we can beat the Cubs in our season series, I can rest happy with that.
And win what trophy? What is the trophy called?
BP, I believe, is the one who's the sponsor. Yeah,
BP Cup.
because that's where I fill up back home is at BP, and they have the ads all over the place with the Cubs and the Sox stuff when I'm filling up my gas back home down down 75th.
The Crosstown Cup is early this year. It's the last week that we're here in Macomb,
yeah.
so we missed it.
Yeah, I saw that. So I won't be able to see the ads, I guess, for a little bit when I go home. Because they go up and then they take them down until we start to play again. Which, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'm just pumping my gas, but I always kind of laugh at them. By the generic fans they have.
Hey, as long as you can
tell
enjoy yourself.
The photoshopped logos, it gives me a laugh. But so there we go. We got some college baseball talking here. We're going to go ahead and move to the NFL offseason. And Ryan, I think I'll start with you as my fellow Packers fan, and Adam, both of you.
Yes.
You guys saw our pickup of the Bears, Julius Peppers, their longtime defensive end. Before that, he had his prime in Carolina. He's at 34 years of age. I believe it was, a 3-year deal? 3 or 4 year deal?
Yeah, 3 years.
3 year.
What do you guys think of that as Packers fans? I'm excited, but at the same time, this isn't a big deal. I think it's not a game changer, but I do think it helps specifically Clay Matthews out a lot.
Yeah, I think it takes the pressure off of Clay Matthews because I think most offensive lines knew what was coming and has been coming ever since that great Super Bowl year that he had. And it also shows the money that they're guaranteeing him is only $7.5 million out of a $30 million contract. So that shows you that they're not expecting much, but they want a little bit, I'm guessing. But I like it. He's on the right side of the rivalry now, I guess.
Yeah.
I just don't think he was happy in Chicago.
You
at
think so?
all. I didn't see him the last couple of years.
I didn't see him either. That's because he wasn't performing on the field. He had 3 sacks last year.
That is true. He has had a couple of down years, which is why I'm a little timid with this. But I think the Packers' defensive line has been too good.
But you had to deal with Urlacher being injured and declining in the last couple of years, so the pressure could have been put on Peppers. I think putting him as not a star role on the defensive side, have A.J. Hawk, have even Raji do that because he's got a new contract. It's just basically prove it, one contract for prove it. But I like the Peppers signing. They need to do something with the offensive line. The secondary is okay. It could improve a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
But I think that could be situated in the draft.
I also like the pickup. I think it's a very low-risk move. I did the research, and the Bears were paying him, I want to say, their cap hit was twice as much as the Packers will pay him. So it's a very low-risk move, and they're not expecting a whole lot out of him. I mean, he's not going to step in there and be the Reggie White and just terrorize quarterbacks. He's going to be in there to block passes and, focus the attention off of Raji so he's not double-teamed. It just aggravated me last year to see quarterbacks just sit back there for 5 seconds, flat-footed. And I can't remember the last time a Packers D lineman has batted down a pass. And ever since the Super Bowl year, I haven't seen a Packers rush end that can get after a passer.
Yeah.
Well, from the Bear fans' perspective, because we have 3 Packer fans and then Darius, you're Cowboys fans.
Absolutely. I was waiting for
I'll be the voice of reason.
Hey, man, we always a voice of reason over here. Hold on now.
From the Bear fans' perspective, I think the Packers have a great, like you said, a low risk, high reward pickup because you're right, he doesn't have to shoulder the load. He had to shoulder a lot last year, and he just didn't perform. He is 34, and he for us, he wasn't worth paying $18-19 million a year. Yeah, we have to take the $9 million cap hit, but I'll take that. And Lamar Houston, 6'3", 285 from Oakland. He had 6 sacks last year. He is going to be a force on the right side of that defensive line for the Chicago Bears. It's just everything else has to come into fruition with the Bears defense. But I think the Packers have a really good pickup in Julius Peppers. You guys can keep him. You can do whatever you want with him. That's fine. I think he was already working for you guys when he decided not to pick up that fumble in the last game of the
yeah.
season.
He knew he wanted to go to Green Bay at the end of the year.
Take him.
I think the move is all about. I think it really depends, Adam, on what you was talking about. How much do you actually expect out of him? Because if he's supposed to be a threat, I think he's more of a threat by name than by game. I think it's like, oh, Julius Peppers, he's on that side. We got to look out for him. But his production hasn't really been anywhere. Yeah. So I don't really know how good the pickup is. You say, he's 34. He got a 3-year deal, so he's not going to play all 3 years, I don't think so.
He's got to push hard, but he does have the weapons around him, I guess you can say, in a Clay Matthews on the other end.
Yeah,
he's got B.J. Raji in the middle. Raji hasn't been performing up to level he did for the Super Bowl team.
Yeah, and Matthews has to be healthy because he was banged up a lot this past year.
Yeah, I think for me that's what it does really is it takes pressure off the other guys, like specifically Clay Matthews on the other end. On the other end, he won't get double teamed as much as he normally does.
Detani Jones, I forgot all about him. You guys still have Detani Jones.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. That's basically the way I choose to look at this. Is that it's just kind of like a pressure reliever in a sense, where he might. I don't know if he'll necessarily draw any more double teams, but if you're going to double team Clay Matthews or somebody else coming off that opposite edge, then you can't afford to forget about Julius Peppers because even at 34, he can still beat the average offensive lineman more times than not if you're just going to try and one-on-one him.
Even back from the Bear perspective, I think it works out well for us. Matchup-wise with Julius Peppers, Jermon Bushrod, I feel, can really work Julius Peppers. But from the whole, and I'll quote Brian Urlacher on this, from the whole loyalty standpoint, I've been very ardent about how I feel about this. Julius Peppers represented the old look of the Chicago Bears, that gritty, tough defense. And yes, I do value defense on my Chicago Bears a lot, but there is no loyalty in sports. Nor should they be. There should be winning.
I was having this same conversation with my mom when DeMarcus Ware got cut, and she was over here, they should be loyal to him because didn't he do all that work as a Cowboy? I'm like, it's not about that. It's about what's happening right now. If you're not producing, then it don't really matter.
My mother is still irate that we cut Lovie Smith, but you know what? Lovie Smith is going to be about 3-13 next season.
My mom does not care anything about the Bears. She does not watch football. Y'all see, I'm not a Bears fan, but she kept saying, why is Lovie Smith fired? Every time it was an open coach, it's like, that should be Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith should coach the Cowboys. I'm like, well, why Lovie Smith get fired? Just because she recognized the man's name. Yeah. So that means probably right now I'm going to get a text talking about, so you're talking about me and Lovie Smith. But I guess that's how that works.
Yeah, but I say that because Brian Urlacher cared so much about loyalty. He's 35 and aging. Yeah, granted. Brian Urlacher would have been a lot better than anybody we had on our linebacker core last season. But we're not going to pay Brian Urlacher, Devin Hester, Julius Peppers, heck, even Lance Briggs, the money that they deserve for what they did in the past. You get paid for what you're going to do now and in the future. And Julius Peppers wasn't doing that. He wasn't playing up to $19 million a season. Up to what we had to restructure his contract like 3 times every single year that he's been with the Bears. So from a Bear fan standpoint, I'm happy he's gone. The Packers can have him.
Yeah, I think it's good for the Bears because of the money they were paying him. He's not worth that money. He's not even close to being worth that money. So I think it works out well for both parties. The Packers, did we overpay maybe a little bit, I think, at that, $7 million guaranteed?
Yeah, but that's just guaranteed. I mean, if it was more than $10 million guaranteed, I would think a little bit more, but it's $2.5 million for somebody that you don't know what you're getting. I'm okay with it.
Well, the state that our defense has been in so bad the past 2 years, this can only help.
Line,
this can only help, I think. I really do, I think. It's not, like I said, it's not a game changer, but I think from the Packers' defensive, from their standpoint, you can only go up from here. And I think the Pepper signing does help them even just a little bit.
Speaking of signings, I'm going to cut you off, Adam. Speaking of signings, who do you think in the AFC has had the better free agency, the Denver Broncos or the New England Patriots? Because they have both had some splashes, specifically the Patriots getting Darrelle Revis. Yeah. That's a major move in New England to try to get Tom Brady that 4th championship ring.
I'm actually going to go with Denver, I think, because they brought in Talib, and Talib is both he's healthier, I believe, than
he didn't show
Revis.
Up as well as he should have been in that later half of last season. But yeah.
But I don't think the Patriots have done as much as the Broncos, and that's kind of why. Although you look who the Broncos lost, they lost, I want to say, one of the linebackers. Decker went to the Jets, and I want to say oh gosh, Woodyard might have left, and he was their middle linebacker. So
I think it is Woodward. I know it was a linebacker they got that signed with somebody else.
I think the Broncos, I would almost call it 50-50, but I would say the Broncos, they've made more splashes, I guess. And I don't like the Patriots signing of Brandon Browner on the other side. I think that's way too risky. He's got troubles with substance abuse and performance enhancers.
We gotta remind myself. We are talking about the Patriots here, the ones that made Spygate a big thing. So them signing Brandon Browner isn't really far fetched. But I think if anybody can get Browner to calm down on suspensions, whatever he's taking or doing, it's Bill Belichick, and it only makes them better across from him having arguably 1B when it comes to the best corners in the league right now.
I think that perception of Bill Belichick has been overstretched a little bit. Because the last few trouble players, that's in quotes, players they brought in haven't really done anything there. Talib, yeah, he was trouble before he got there, but now he's gone. They didn't win with him. Randy Moss still was acting up after he left. Who else did they bring?
After he left, though. He kept his nose clean in Foxborough.
And, well, they didn't give him no titles. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about winning.
It's not Randy Moss's fault that Eli Manning
He was on the team. Okay? He was on the team, so he lost just like the rest of them. Who's the little tight end they got? Gronkowski. Mm-hmm. He acting up.
Gronker, Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah, okay, Aaron Hernandez. So, I don't care about Bill Belichick. And then, let's see. Denver had the best free agency so far because the Patriots, they didn't bring in any receivers. They have no receivers on the team that I know of that they brought in. That's going to help.
I don't think any of the receivers in free agency were really going to fit that offense, though.
I thought it was Bill Belichick. They can fit anybody.
They re-signed Edelman.
They re-signed Edelman. Yes,
that's the only thing they've done.
And he was there last year. And I don't know. What they need to do is they need to call up Philly and really see if Deshaun Jackson's on the line. That's what they need to do. They need receivers. They have no receivers.
Yeah, I think Deshaun Jackson would be a great fit with that system in New England.
He would be.
Yeah.
But Tom Brady has also made receivers Troy Brown.
Hey, man, don't talk about Troy. Don't talk about Troy. That's my guy. Don't talk about Troy. Deion Branch, yeah, he did make him. Deion thought he was on, too, when he left and went to Seattle, and he was like, oh, shoot. I
realized he had to come back.
I was like, oh, he tried to sneak back, too. Tried to grow dreads and act like he was somebody else. No, we know it's still you, Deion. That's why he got cut.
But, yeah, I think there's no question. I think it's Denver who's had the best free agency. Plus, they just got wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders, I believe, today.
Yeah.
He signed. The deal isn't finalized yet, but, they picked him up today, as well as Talib and DeMarcus Ware and a few other guys as well. And I think you just add Talib and DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah.
And that defense, though, now is pretty scary. I thought they played well in the Super Bowl. I think they can maybe need some help on offense after being dismantled by Seattle. But I think with this offseason, I think they're definitely the favorites coming into next year because I don't even think it's close for second place behind Denver, who's had the better signings this offseason. I really think it's going to pan out well for them. I'm not a Broncos fan by any means, but it's almost kind of scary what I think they've done because they're definitely going to be a very strong opponent. I think definitely the strong favorites out of the AFC at the very least.
Yeah, I can definitely go with that. And I just want to say, DeMarcus, we still love you. Ain't no hard feelings. It's just how the business works. You already know how it is. I still want him to be successful, over there in Denver. I think they might have overpaid him a little bit, but
a little bit.
Yeah, but I still want him to do well. He had a lot of injuries when he, the last. I won't say the last 17 games he played, but the last 17, 18 games we played as a team, he was banged up, and when he played, he didn't produce. So we had to cut him. But I hope he still does well in Denver over there, though.
I'm looking at the signings too, and the Broncos also got Andre Caldwell as well because they only had Demaryius Thomas and Wes Welker signed right now until they brought in Sanders and Andre Caldwell. So, but looking at the DeMarcus Ware deal, he's 3 years. $30 million with the $5 million signing bonus. Yeah. Do you think that is overpaying him?
I think it's a little bit. I think it kind of goes back to the Julius Peppers thing. How much do you really think you're gonna get out of him? Because with Peppers, was Peppers hurt? I don't really know if he was hurt. Was he hurt?
Was not hurt.
He wasn't hurt. Okay, well, see, that's the thing about DeMarcus. He was hurt a lot, and some people and reporters around Dallas are saying maybe it was better for him to not try and come back too early, from them injuries. And maybe he should have sat back a little bit, and he might still be on the team now. But I think, honestly, he lost a little bit of something because I saw him last year because, I watched all the Cowboys games. The games he played last year, It was like you forgot, like Peppers, you forgot that he was on the team sometimes. So I think they kind of overpaid for him. But I mean, maybe over there with you got to of course pay attention to Von Miller.
Yeah.
So maybe with all the other, the front 7 guys that they have, maybe he can do something. I really don't know. But this another thing though. They're trying to win right now because Peyton Manning's window is almost closing. Yes. So I from that standpoint, I think it's a good move because you might as well bring in as many vets as you can and just try and get it done within these next 2 to 3 years.
Well, it's like it's a yearly basis because he has to pass the physical after each year.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's under that contract, and if he's not physically able, I think the Patriots. Wow, I cannot believe I just put Patriots together. The Broncos can drop him and then pick him up, and somebody else picks him up. Because I know that was the whole big news a couple weeks after the Super Bowl was that he had to pass that physical.
So, Pierce, what do you think as the Bears fans about the Bears re-signing Tillman after it looked like they were not going to sign him, he was going to leave, and he thanked the Bears and the fans for all the support. Then it ends up they sign him up, they re-signed him. What do you think about that?
I think out of any of the old Bears that have been vocal about this new direction that they're taking, Tillman was the one person that I would keep around. If in all honesty, if it was between Briggs or Tillman, who would I keep around? It would be Tillman, because I feel like Tillman he still has the opportunity to be a game changer as our corner. He in essence is not our number 1 corner. He's not being penalized, but he's still going to play against the Deshaun Jacksons. I'm drawing blanks on a lot of wide receivers we're going to be playing. You guys just lost James Jones. Actually, that was the one wide receiver that did come in mind. You just lost him. So to Oakland. So I mean, but I love the Tillman signing. All Tillman really needs to do is just get healthy. He can definitely still handle his own. He proved that in the first couple of games that he did play this year. That he can hold his own against number 1 receiver still at the age of 33, 34. But you have to factor in that age. You have to put that age factor in there. So what are the Bears going to do now to bring in somebody to learn from Tillman, learn from Tim Jennings, and when Tillman rides off in the sunset in a year or two, we have another corner to step up. Who is going to be that corner? Will you find him in the draft? Will it be Darquise Dennard? Mm-hmm. Will you draft the safety Dix out of Alabama, or will you go DN? Will you go defensive line?
Yeah, that's what I was hoping the Packers get. Is they get Dennard, he's able to drop to them, or possibly even trade up, because I like him a lot. Yes. And I think the Packers could use him desperately. So I think whoever gets him, that's going to be a good pick. But because I was just curious about that, because I've heard some mixed feelings about the Tillman signing. I think it's good for the Bears. I do.
To be honest, I think a lot of Bear fans are idiots.
Really?
I agree with you on that, because you guys can't imagine the amount of times I've had to turn on Chicago Sports Talk Radio and hear Josh McCown is better than Jay Cutler. It drives me insane. And it's not even just with the Bears; it's with all Chicago sports. To where it really aggravates me to be a Chicago fan, because other Chicago fans are just so idiotic. And I don't mean that to demean Chicago fans, because I love you guys to death. We turn up all the time.
Please demean them. Because stupid is stupid. So please demean them.
But you have to be realistic here. Charles Tillman's 34. Charles Tillman's not going to be around for that much longer. There are Bear fans that were crying when we cut Devin Hester, a 30-year-old kick returner.
Which makes no sense.
Who's being paid
as if he's a number 2 wide receiver.
Yes.
People were complaining that we cut Earl Bennett yesterday. Earl Bennett's getting paid like a number 3 wide receiver. He wasn't even going to make the roster. And that aggravates me a lot. So, as a Bear fan, hearing other Bear fans try to think they know football and know the team, it gets aggravating.
As a Packers fan who has been a Packers fan growing up in Chicago, I go Chicago and everything.
Don't understand how that happens.
I go Chicago everything but football, and you can blame Brett Favre for that. And also my just horrible experiences with Bears fans as a child. I had multiple 20-year-old guys when we'd go to Soldier Field for games try and fight 8-year-old me. And luckily my dad's 6'4" and close to 300 pounds, so luckily he was able to turn him away a few times when that happened when I was a kid. So that kind of turned me, I don't want to say for the Packers, but definitely against the Bears. So that's a big reason why I've stayed a Packers fan since Favre's departure. But they a lot of times their opinions are fueled by alcohol I've noticed at Bears games. I've witnessed
Alcohol and feelings.
I've witnessed
emotions.
the best part though was not the 20-year-olds trying to fight me on multiple occasions when I was 8 years
women.
old. It was not even the girls. It was we were at a Minnesota Vikings game. It wasn't even a Bears Packers game, and there was a guy in front of us who had the Viking helmet on with the horns, and the Bears fans were hammered, and they took the helmet off and started to pee in it before the security could get over there and control them.
Did he fight? Did dude with the Vikings helmet?
He was kind of. I don't really think he tried to fight back, but he was kind of held back because it was like 10-on-1.
Okay, well at least he tried, because you got to do something. You can't just stand there and just. Be like,
my
they
dad
peed in my
worked
helmet.
security for the Bears when they were good in the 80s during their Super Bowl run, because one of his good friends from college was a Chicago cop who was one of the head guys in charge. He just has stories you would not believe about Bears fans. So I can definitely understand where you're coming from, Pierce, growing up in Chicago, and I'm a big fan of Chicago sports talk on ESPN 1000. And there are some times when you get the guys who call in, especially with the alcohol after the Bears game. That's always definitely worth listening to, if only for entertainment.
It's even worse on the score.
Yeah,
Yes.
670.
Yes, I listen to the score after Bears games, after all of them, win or lose,
Listen,
and that
listen
is
late at night with
Zaitman.
No, I can't remember his name right now. Older guy.
Hey man, we ain't advertising no other sports show on this stage. All right, it's all about C4 Sports. All y'all listen to the score at ESPN should be listening to us, man.
Who's the program director here?
Hey man, well, you can advertise on somebody else's show. You in C4 Sports Zone right now. We make things explosive. That's what we do.
And there's a reason I came through today. It's because I heard you guys are the best in the McDonough County area.
I hope that's the true reason.
There's a reason for that. I mean, there's some truth to that. I don't want to be cocky, but
Yeah.
there's some truth to that.
I mean, we do have a lot of connection. You know, Stephen A. What up?
Yes. I mean, we're working on. Darius is working on getting Stephen A. in the show. So first we go from Pierce to Stephen A. for our
It's
guest.
a long road to get Stephen
You know,
A.
he real busy, you know, until the summertime, and then of course we're not here during the summer, so you know the schedule is
gonna be tough.
conflicting. Yeah, so you know it'd be kind of tough.
But what do you guys think has been the best single pickup during the offseason for the NFL? Like the best single signing? Is it DeMarcus Ware? Is it the Bears re-signing Tillman even? Because I think that's kind of gone under the radar. That's why I asked Pierce about that. But what do you guys think, if you could choose one signing, which do you think is going to make the biggest impact? Or possibly, if you can't think of one, maybe who could make the biggest impact if somebody, like what comes to the top of my head, Deshaun Jackson going somewhere other than Philadelphia?
Yeah, I definitely think Deshaun Jackson could be a big pickup. I really want Carolina to go after him, because they have no receivers, but I think that they're really, especially since Cam just had ankle surgery, I think they're probably just throwing this year away, even though they really shouldn't, even though because they won the NFC South. I think they're gonna throw it away. Because look at you said what?
I think it's a horrible idea.
Oh yeah, I do too. I think it's a horrible idea too, but I kind of think they are, because their top 3 receivers are gone. So I mean, I don't.
And I'll combat that really quickly, because and I just want to point this out for one quick second. Boston U is up on University of Illinois 27-13. In the first round of NIT. That's shocking to me.
Wow.
But I'll combat that with the simple fact that Greg Hardy is on a franchise tag right now. Greg Hardy's gonna be a free agent next year.
Yeah, that's true.
I would hope that Carolina would want to keep Greg Hardy, because he is going to be a stud in the National Football League. He's already turning into one. You can't tank this year if you expect to keep Greg Hardy around.
So
Otherwise, they need to start planning now on losing Greg Hardy.
So then, how do you fix that receiver situation?
They have to find some way. You have to find somebody that's going to work within Cam's system. You can find a smaller wide receiver in the draft that can be a la Steve Smith. I figured Steve was going to leave anyway, but they still have Greg Olsen. He is one person that Cam does have to still throw to. They just have to put pieces around him. Like Tom Brady's done. Tom Brady has not had great receivers over the last couple of years. Wes Welker was never a great receiver when they picked him up.
So we comparing Tom Brady.
No,
and Cam
we're not
Newton?
comparing Tom Brady to Cam Newton. We're
okay.
saying that it's possible for Cam Newton to make a wide receiver just like Tom Brady made.
It's
Wes
also
Welker.
possible that I'll wake up and be 7 feet tall tomorrow, but that don't mean that's gonna happen. We talking
But
about
that doesn't mean that the Panthers are going to tank, though.
That's very true.
Just because they don't have a wide receiver right now does not mean that they will tank come September.
All right, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you cut Matt Forte, you already cut Michael Bush, and whoever's y'all third running back, would you say that the Bears are tanking if y'all did that?
I won't say we're tanking. I'd say they're very stupid.
Okay. All right, well, the Panthers are very stupid right now. They need to fix that problem. There you go.
Well, they got to invest in Cam Newton's future, wouldn't you think,
yeah.
with wide receivers and an offensive line?
Yeah, that offensive line is horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Well, hey, at least D'Angelo Williams, I saw him tweet that he think him and Jonathan Stewart are going to be top fantasy draft picks this year. So at least he found some humor in that somewhere. You know what I think the Panthers are really doing? Y'all remember that little Play 60 commercial with the kid who said he gonna be next. I think that they're really scouting him,
They're
and
waiting for that
they're
kid.
gonna throw some big bucks his way. So look out for that young fella. I might try to
Hey,
get him on the show too.
They might be trying to pull a Philadelphia 76ers. You never know.
Oh Lord.
Never know.
Well, we'll get to the 76ers in a bit when we talk
I don't wanna
NBA.
talk about that.
But still, Adam, what do you got for your best signing or potential best signing?
You talked about maybe quarterbacks making a wide receiver better. I think Peyton Manning's going to turn Emmanuel Sanders into a star. I think he was really good with Big Ben, although Big Ben was, eluding 8 pass rushers while throwing him the ball. So I think in 2 years, you're going to see Emmanuel Sanders being picked in the top 5 receivers for fantasy.
Okay.
I'm going to go outside the box, and I'm going to say Steve Smith to the Ravens. I like that. Flacco shows he's a good receiver. I'm not going to put him top tier. I know he won a Super Bowl. He still needs to prove a little bit more to me. But I like that. When Bolden left after last year, I think he was missing another wide receiver, and I think this helps out with that. So I'm not expecting great things, but I'm expecting for him to help out with that receiver core in Baltimore.
Okay. So that's interesting. And Pierce, we'll end this with you.
I'd already mentioned the Revis signing. I think the Revis signing is going to be phenomenal for
Yeah.
the Patriots. But to point out one that went under the radar is the Saints getting Jairus Byrd from Buffalo. I feel like Byrd is one of the top 5 safeties in the league, and it only strengthens New Orleans, and it gives New Orleans a big of a leg up next year, and especially when it comes to playing teams in their division. When it comes to facing Carolina, when it comes to facing Atlanta will be healthy next year. They'll have a healthy Julio Jones, an even healthier Roddy White, and hopefully Matt Ryan will get his stuff together after a really down season.
Yeah.
So Jairus Byrd signing with the Saints only strengthens New Orleans and gives them another great player to make a push towards a championship next year.
So I think that's all we got for the NFL offseason talk. Hopefully we'll have more as free agency continues next week. I don't think we're on next week, actually. I think there's a softball game next Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. So either next week or the week after, hopefully we'll have some more to report from some free agency. A lot has happened. I'm surprised as much has happened as it has, I guess,
Yeah,
this
that
early.
first day, they were going crazy. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, especially with Denver, that DeMarcus Ware and Aqib Talib, I was like, wow, that's pretty huge for a first-day signing. But real quick, before we get into kind of the theme of the show, which is obviously the March Madness bracket preview challenge, whatever you want to call it, we'll do some NBA talk. And I think the most prevalent one is the 76ers going for that, I believe, Cleveland Cavaliers' most consecutive loss streak. Do you guys think it's going to happen? Because they need, 4 or 5 more games, I think it is?
5.
5?
I think it's 5.
Do you guys see this happening? Because I think, Ryan, I think you said the best chance for the loss was it the Knicks, you said?
For the win.
For the
was the
76ers.
Knicks, and I still think that was still above 60% chance
Of a loss? Okay.
So I think they were they got a tough schedule coming up.
Yeah.
They got to go to Houston and San Antonio. So I say yes. They're tanking. They basically got these.
They're going for
squad
Jabari
out
or
there.
Wiggins. They're tanking for him.
Them or whoever they want to try to get.
Yeah, whoever it is.
I also agree. I think they're going to get it. I think you get this far in, the team just totally tanks. I mean, the coach tanked like when it was 10 games.
Yeah.
And you're coaching a young team, and I think it starts from the top and it just trickles down, especially with a young team. So I think there's the roots of the losing streak, and it may touch 30. Don't be surprised.
Hey, we might see that streak end tonight. The Bulls are only up by 2 at the end of one quarter.
Well, it's still early. It's still
is.
plenty of time.
So what they have to lose 4 more?
4 more. I think, what Ryan said is their best chance statistically at a win is against New York.
And I
Your
think that's the next
favorite
game.
team.
I think that's the next game.
my favorite.
Yeah, your favorite team with your favorite player.
Oh yes, Carmelo Anthony. We just connect on so many things. Oh man. I just want to say I don't think they're gonna break the record.
No.
I feel like that's you kind of do have to lose on purpose that many times. I don't understand. Just because my dad is a Sixers fan, just as I'm just gonna say they're not gonna break.
All right,
that's,
you're helping out your dad.
Yeah,
Okay, some hope.
like that's just sad, man. Like this is a proud franchise. This is one of the more iconic franchises in the league.
Yeah, but hey, give me the chance at either Jabari Parker or Andrew Wiggins. I'm not hoping to lose, but if we do,
I feel what you're saying. But this is why I feel like that statement, not you saying it, but I feel like that idea is so stupid because it's a lottery. So it's not guaranteed you're going to get one of the top picks anyway. You could get like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, that's so dumb if you're going to keep losing. And, like, okay, so what they got Chicago tonight, then they got the Knicks, and then Chicago again in San Antonio. Okay, my fault. Sorry, Dad. They're probably going to break the record because they're not. Then there's Houston after that, and then, they're going to break the record.
I also think, the Sixers, they know that they're not good, and they're definitely not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're gonna have a decent team in the future. They have Michael Carter-Williams, who through everything will be the Rookie of the Year this year. Nerlens Noel will be back from injury next season. They're gonna have a top pick. It'll be within the top 4 for sure because they are the worst team in the NBA. They will secure a top 4 pick, even if they don't make the lottery. I feel like the Sixers, give them a few years to build around that core that they're setting in to Philadelphia. They're gonna be pretty good. They're not gonna be a championship team. Well, so that remains to be seen, but they'll be a playoff team.
I don't even think they have a core. They just have Williams because Nerlens Noel is way too skinny.
He has to develop.
I think he can be good.
Yes.
I think he can be decent if they play him right. I think Pierce makes a good point where they have a potential at a future. They just can't get that Cleveland Cavalier syndrome, which even a year ago we all thought Cleveland was going to be great.
Yeah,
we thought they were on the team with the most potential, and their draft picks. Other than I still like to say Kyrie Irving, despite Darius says he dribbles too much, which I think is a valid point, but I still think he's a star player. Other than that, their draft picks have just not worked out at all. So hopefully they can avoid that kind of Cleveland syndrome when picking their players, I guess. But I'm kind of surprised that the losing streak has gotten to where it is because remember, they started off the season so hot, especially with that win over the Heat where I believe Michael Carter-Williams had the triple-double, I want to say. And didn't they start out something like 8-3?
They beat the Bulls, too.
Yeah.
They started out pretty well.
Yeah, I want to say at one point they were like 8-2? 8-3, something like that. They were pretty good at the very first 2 weeks of the season. Then just somehow, somewhere, it just went all downhill from there. So it's gotten kind of rough to watch. I think I've only seen one of their games during the streak, and the game I did see, it was pretty bad watching them play. It was pretty bad, just basketball in general, especially from an NBA team. I think when your coach gives up on you, if you are a young team, we have talked about this before on the show, but that's just kind of the worst possible thing that could have happened to them. And plus, I don't agree with tanking in general. Just, I guess it's the competitiveness in me. I understand the point and why you would want to do it, but just you're out there playing professional basketball. You do have an ego. You do have pride. I personally, if I was out there, I don't think I could do it. I couldn't never lose, especially lose on purpose. I still can't do it. I can't even let my girlfriend win. I still got to beat her in everything.
You gotta let her win.
We're playing. We played Mario Kart last night. She got mad at me because I won in Mario Kart, and I'm like,
that's what I'm talking about.
I can't lose. I can't
That's
do
what
it.
I'm talking about.
That's
right
why
there.
I don't go to little kid things. Like I don't like my cousin when he was in soccer. They wanted me to play on the parents versus kids. I can't do it because I will be out there just shoving kids over and scoring 50
I don't
goals.
believe in letting people who not better than you win.
Yes,
Talking about that
I
builds
agree.
their confidence.
Yes.
No, build your confidence by beating me, you bum. That's how it should work.
I understand that, but if I'm playing 2K with my girl, my sliders are going to be on Hall of Fame.
No,
I'll
I
make sure
don't.
hers on Rookie.
No.
And I'll probably still beat her.
No, I'm not about losing in any way. Now, if you too soft to take a L, then you shouldn't be hanging out with me anyway. That's just how I look at it. Which is part of the reason why I have no girlfriend right now. But, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we have to accept the type of people that we are. But it's all good. I'm happy with who I am. Just know that.
We all love you, Darius.
Thank you.
You have love here.
I appreciate that. That does my heart good. He don't even know. He don't even know.
You got nothing?
He don't even know what to say.
I was gonna chime in because you mentioned the tanking. You're not for tanking, and I can't lie. And I hate Luol Deng, so I was so happy when we traded Luol Deng. Once that happened, I just knew, yes, the tank is in full session. And I'm not the type of person that I want the Bulls to lose. I see the bigger picture, which was Jabari Parker and Andrew Wiggins. But God, Joakim Noah really turned me around on that team.
Yeah.
To see Joakim Noah show that fire and that passion that he just could not tank, it made me root for the team. It brought me back into, hey, you are a Bulls fan. You're stupid for wanting this team.
I think it's two things with the Bulls. Being a Bulls fan and watching a team. I went to the game when they played Miami. I was at that game. Just watching them play, it's two things. It's the passion they play with. I think it starts with Joakim Noah. He's just a passion-first guy. If he was on any other team, I would hate him. If he was not on the Bulls, I would hate his guts. But I love Joakim Noah with him on the Bulls. You won't find a harder worker in the NBA, guy who does all the little things.
He epitomizes Chicago.
Yeah. That's why you got to love the guy. That's one. And two, it's the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference, other than Miami and Indiana, is god-awful. If the Bulls were in the West, they might be an 8 or a 7 seed, I think, because of how well Joakim Noah, and I know we were talking earlier that DJ Augustine pickup has helped them a lot, especially in the fourth quarter with scoring the ball, but them being in the Eastern Conference has helped the Bulls out immensely, because I know you said the Bulls will probably finish as a 3 seed, which they probably will.
They would have tanked. They would have finished as an 8th seed.
Yeah.
So where would you rather be? Would you rather be an 8th seed floundering and getting bumped out by Indiana, or would you be a 3 seed and wanting to fight? And getting more playoff experience, because that's the bigger thing in this.
Yep.
Is that even if you have not been that good for the last 2 years, Joakim Noah, Taj Gibson, these guys are getting valuable playing experience in the playoffs against Brooklyn, against Miami, whoever they play this year. They're really getting valuable playoff experience, which is going to come in handy when Derrick Rose comes back, when you get a Lance Stevenson or a Kevin Love or, dare I say, a Carmelo Anthony. That's what's going to be attractive, is how do you play in the playoffs? How much have you played in the playoffs? And you don't get that by tanking.
Yeah. And plus, too, the NBA is a little bit different, I feel, than a lot of the other sports where a free agent can just turn your whole team around, which we've seen. I mean, LeBron James is the perfect example, or even a couple other ones as well.
O'Neal.
Yeah, Shaq. And possibly Carmelo Anthony this offseason if he chooses to leave, where I think you make a good point where free agents want to go teams where you can win. That's why Shaq left Orlando. That's, part of the reason why. Part of the reason why.
He wants to advance his thriving rap career. He was a great rapper, though.
Oh my goodness.
Shaq?
Don't blaspheme.
You can't stop the rain?
No. My biological didn't bother.
Okay, I don't. That's the one thing.
Okay.
Well, okay, name athletes that were better rappers than Shaquille O'Neal. That's not me. Johnson.
AR, 40 bars.
40 bars is that one track, that one song.
40 bars.
Tony
and
Parker.
Nothing else.
Tony Parker.
I heard his French rap song. I heard it the first time my roommate played it. He's like, "Do you know who this is? He's in the NBA." And I was like, "Oh my God, is this Tony Parker's rap song?" And he's like, "Yup."
I just read today that Damian Lillard's working on the album.
Oh,
Dead
God,
serious.
no. How about Stack 5? Remember Steven Jackson?
Yeah.
What didn't Ron Artest have a
Yeah, he had the best song on one of the 2K tracks.
We can't forget about Kobe. Kobe
rapping in the town. That's how Kobe found his beautiful, beautiful wife.
Yeah, that's
Kobe for his rap career.
And then Chris Webber, he had Gangsta with Corrupt. So I mean,
well, I liked Chris Webber. I loved when he had those silver shoes that everybody hated. I loved
the
them.
Dada Chromes.
Yep, I loved them.
Chris Webber was the most Duke player on that Michigan team. Chris Webber's not gangsta at all.
Yeah, he's not. He wants to be, but he's really not, which kind of made that song even a little bit more ironic. And then he couldn't rap on it to begin with.
I've never heard it, so I can't comment or speculate.
It's better,
I try to avoid athletes and music.
I can understand that because it's not good. It's really not.
I mean, I heard the Tony Parker one, like I said, and it was kind of like, why am I listening to this? And that was the first thing I thought. Then the second thing was, why does my roommate have this song on his computer?
Oh, man. That's crazy.
I don't think, going back to the tanking, Joakim Noah and Tibbs would never let the Bulls tank. Ever.
Yeah.
I mean, even if Reinsdorf or somebody in management said, hey, we're gonna throw out the B team there, let guys get experience, they wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
Tibbs works way too hard at his job. He's been known to just sleep in his office sometimes. Mm-hmm. I mean, legitimately. And Joakim shows so much passion, and he's one of my favorite players in the game now.
Yeah.
Because most times you see some guys take an off night. Joakim brings it every night, in and out. And I give the Bulls a chance, just based on heart in the playoffs, against, say, a Miami or an Indiana, to push to 6 games or something. And you talked about getting guys experience. Those young guys are getting experience. DJ Augustine might be in the plans going forward. Jimmy Butler got key experience last year. I think he's going to be very good in the future if they keep him.
He's not been perfect this year, but it is his 3rd year, so I'll give him that benefit of the doubt. But yeah, Darius and I had this argument about an hour ago. Could the Bulls win a second game against Miami? I think that's the reason why I give them that second game. So yeah, they have the heart, the determination to steal a second game away from Miami. Not just that fluke one win that they get in the game ones usually, and then they jag off the rest of them. They should have won Game 5 last year. That sent them off.
Very true.
They should have won Game 5 in 2011 when LeBron and D Wade just went ape crap and.
Oh, that's
knocked
when
them
LeBron
out.
hit that. What ended up being the game winner right in Dang's grill, where Dang was all over him, and he
saw it happen.
nailed
He
it.
just went down the court and just banged a 3 in his face. But couple that with the fact that it's a Miami team, which I do believe is going to three-peat as champions, they have taken a slight decline, and they're not completely healthy. And I think that only helps the Bulls if when it comes to May. You get Joakim Noah and his fire and his passion and how he just rubs off on everybody else on that team and how they can step it up when they really need to. I think they can steal a second game from Miami. They can take Indiana. I think they could take Indiana to 7. But
Possibly.
Miami, I think they can take them to 6.
That's all I'm going to say. They can definitely wear down Miami, and they will wear down Miami, whether they win 5 or 6.
That's no fact.
Yeah, they definitely will wear them down. And I think that's part of the reason why Miami won't three-peat. Because they're going to be worn down. Like you said, they're older. And I'll tell you right now, if they play the Spurs again, they're not going to beat them. If they play OKC, they have a chance, especially right now because we talked about, for a while, we've been talking about with Russ coming back and how KD was going to, work with that. But so they might have a little chance there. But I'll tell you right now, I'm guaranteeing 100%, if they play the Spurs again, they're not going to beat them. If they get to the finals, they're not going to beat the Spurs.
Well, not really as a Heat fan, but as a LeBron fan, I'm more worried about Indiana because walking away from that series last year, it was literally like, I didn't think they were going to make it at some point. Going into that, I was more nervous going into Game 7 against Indiana than I was Game 7 of the finals.
I can understand that.
If it wasn't for LeBron being LeBron, they don't win. They don't win the finals, but they definitely don't win that series against Indiana because he went Cleveland. He put the team on his back against them to an extent too against the Spurs, but I think really it was more prevalent in the Indiana series because the way Indiana matches up with Miami is the only mismatch is LeBron. Indiana has them in every single category, especially now with Lance Stevenson emerging. They got Bynum if he can pan out. He could be real dangerous. It'll be LeBron versus them, and he was able to do it last year. I don't think it's been proven. Players can win you games. But a team will win you a championship. And I think even though Miami has LeBron, it's the same in the West. I think the Spurs are a better team than OKC is. OKC is Durant.
Right.
But I think ultimately those two could fall short, even though they're the 2 best players without question in the game. But teams win championships. And I think in the West, it's San Antonio is the better team. And in the East, I believe Indiana is the better team. And that's why we could possibly see LeBron leave in the offseason, but we'll talk about that much later.
The playoffs just need to hurry up and start because Indiana, I don't know if it's just because of the lack of interest right now, but they've disappointed me the way they've been playing recently. They've fallen off a little bit. Kind of reminds me of Portland. They're beating bad teams, but they're struggling to beat bad teams a little bit. It shouldn't be a close game versus Milwaukee in the fourth quarter. Like, that just shouldn't be happening. Certain teams you should be blowing out. And the way they started the season, they're definitely not on that path right now. So I don't know if they're coasting, but they can't afford to coast because they haven't done this before.
Yeah.
They have no accolades. All they have is a Game 7 loss in the conference finals. So, I don't.
Portland's won championships before. Portland won championships in the 70s.
No, I'm talking about Indiana.
Oh, we're talking about Indiana.
Yeah.
Then you're right.
Yeah. I know, in Portland, in the 70s, ain't got nothing to do with now.
Yeah. We're talking about the Heat
unless
the
Bill
Spurs.
Walton about to come out retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill Walton has been God freaking great doing Pac-12. If you guys don't watch Pac-12 basketball, that's so sad on you because Bill Walton is phenomenal.
I've seen some clips.
Bill Walton is interesting. We'll say that. He's interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely the best choice of words. So.
But I think, is that all we got for the NBA?
I think it is. I think we should dedicate a whole hour to this NCAA tournament.
Yeah, because that's what I was going for. We just are about to hit the hour mark right here. Yeah. So
I will sign off with you guys, but it was great sitting with you guys and chit-chatting. They said C4 was the best we had.
All right, we appreciate
It's tough.
that.
It's
Hey,
tough. It's
Bubba,
tough to
I
say
hope
no
you're
to that.
listening, because Bubba,
Yeah,
you said we had
yeah.
the number 2 sports show.
Yeah, we've been-
Pierce just said we have number
We've
1.
been in a little bit of an argument with him.
So wherever
but,
Bubba at, I'm gonna make sure that you find this clip.
well, you
Right?
got the sound clip, right?
Exactly.
You got it out there,
Exactly.
so just
I
play
mean,
it for him.
Exactly.
Right
There
So-
you go. Bubba, Perm, Crystal. I don't know who else is on there, but yeah. Oh, Sam, I think you on there too. There you go. Fridays, y'all not beating us.
All right, so when we come back, it's the moment everybody has been waiting for to hear our picks. I know Ryan is especially excited about this, so I'll let you tell the good news when we come back from this quick break right here. So when we return, it is a full hour of March Madness preview. We got a whole bracket challenge, a lot more to come. So keep it right here on 88.3 The Dog. This is C4 Sports.
So you take the mouse and click over there, and then you can choose someone you want to call.
My niece. I click here?
Uh-huh.
This is Louisa. Recently, she got help going online to chat with her family back home.
Okay, so then you want to hit that green button.
This is her first time on the internet and her first time seeing her niece in 5 years. Louisa doesn't know what to expect.
Luisa? Oh my gosh. There she is. This is amazing. It's so good to see you. You look so pretty.
But this is definitely way beyond.
Oh my gosh.
See what the internet can help you do at everyoneon.org or call 1-855-387-9166 to find a free training class near you. That's 1-855-387-9166.
Oh, I've missed you. Oh, me too.
Brought to you by Connect to Compete and the Ad Council.
From the vantage point, Mafatu saw 6 war canoes drawn up on the beach, but what held the boy's eyes in awful trance were the figures springing and leaping about the flames, darting, shifting, bounding toward the sky, the eaters of men. Cannibals. Firelight glistened on their oiled bodies, on flashing spears and bristling decorations. Mafatu watched the strange scene, powerless to move, and he felt doom itself breathing chill upon his neck. In that very instant, he heard a crashing in the undergrowth. 4 figures were tearing toward him through the jungle. He could see them now. He turned and ran blindly down the trail, slipping, sliding, stumbling, his breath all but choking in his throat. Only one thought gave him courage as he ran. His canoe ready and waiting. If only he could reach it before the savages overtook him. Explore new worlds. Find out what happens next by reading the book Call It Courage by Armstrong Sperry. For other great book ideas, visit literacy.gov. A message from the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to C4 Sports live on 88.3 The Dog. It's the time you all have been waiting for. We got March Madness preview. The tournament really gets underway tomorrow night for most of us, unless you're interested in the playoff games, or the play-in games. But for the most part, the tournament will kick off Thursday night. I know I'm going to my boy Joe Bush's house for a little grill out, watch the games there. Ryan, I think you have the best deal out of all of us.
Yeah, I have the best deal of all. I'm a big college sports fan in general. They go up to the pros except for baseball, which will be my tops always. In 2009, I went to the Big Ten tournament. This year, I'm headed down to St. Louis after this radio show to watch the second and third round matchups. I used some of my Christmas money for the games, and I'm just glad that I got cheap tickets when I did, or after the brackets came out. I was nervous all weekend to find out who I was going to play. I'm like, I hope I don't see anybody horrible. I was hoping that Kansas was going to lose so they didn't get a 1 seed, so I would make it even worse for me. But I'm happy with the teams I get to face.
Yeah.
See, I'm really looking forward to seeing Kentucky, even though I don't like what Calipari does. I don't like the one and dones. I'd like to see them live and see what they do and all the hype and the fans. And the fans and the pep bands have always been the best part of going to NCAA games for me.
So I'm pretty jealous, to say the truth. I'm not gonna lie. So I've never been to I've been to a couple of college games, but I've never been to a playoff game of any sorts. I've been to thousands of sporting events, like professional Division I college sporting events. Never been to any playoff games. So
Me neither. Even for baseball, I've never been. So I'm looking forward to it. I've just been grinning ear to ear all week, waiting for it tonight to happen, so I can travel and head down to St. Louis.
All right, so now that we got Ryan's kind of big announcement out of the way, we'll go ahead and go by region, a breakdown until we get to the Final Four. We'll obviously save that for last. Well, I guess, Ryan, we can start with you since you are the college basketball nut on the squad. What are your winners coming out of the bracket? The region.
The region.
With this one?
I have making it to Sweet 16. I have Florida playing UCLA, and then Syracuse playing Kansas. I am very top heavy this year, 1 through the 4 seeds, because even though there's upsets and teams with double digits go to the Sweet 16, I just don't see a lot this year. Like I said, the top 4 seeds in each bracket just look way too good for me to bet against them right now.
So how about we do that? You read off your Sweet 16. You can say a couple upsets or something like that in the first 2 rounds. Sweet 16, and then we'll go through. Ryan, you go Sweet 16, then we'll go Adam, Darius, and I'll finish it off. Then we can go Elite 8, and then who you got coming out of there.
I have the upset. I guess I have Dayton beating Ohio State. I just don't like Thad Matta. Aaron Kraft needs to get his 8 years of college done and get the heck out of there. It seems like he's been there forever. I guess my minor upset would be UCLA over VCU, because VCU's had such a great NCAA tournament the last couple years. So you don't know what they're coming in. UCLA's been off and on. So I say those are probably my big upsets out of that bracket.
I don't really have any huge upsets in that bracket. It's very chalky to me. I do have VCU beating UCLA as the 5 seed over the 4. I think Shaka Smart's experience, and he's got a veteran team now that has been used to his pressing and all that. I think they go to the Sweet 16, but they run into Florida. I was really tempted to pick Ohio State, kind of Big Ten pride in me, over Syracuse. Just couldn't do it. The zone, even though it's kind of a bogus way to win, I think it gets it done. I don't think Ohio State can score against it. Really tempted to pick New Mexico, actually, over Kansas. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, I was too.
I think Kansas got a very favorable draw as a 7 seed, because normally, Iowa State last year probably should have beat Ohio State as a 7 seed. Kind of disappointing for me, because Embiid will probably be back after the Sweet 16. So that makes KU dangerous. No upsets for me.
Okay.
I won't really say I have too many upsets. I do have Pittsburgh beating Colorado. That's just a 9 beating the 8 in this first round. Looking at Ohio State and Syracuse, I have Ohio State moving on from Dayton. That was a tough game for me to pick, though. I almost went with Dayton. I actually have Ohio State beating Syracuse, and I think it's partially because of the zone. Like I told, like I said before we came in here, part of my bracket pickings are sometimes personal vendettas against teams and players that I don't like. It's part of the zone. Ohio State, they really haven't been on that good this year, but Syracuse, they've been kind of iffy, especially as of recent. So that's definitely going to be a good game as far as the point guard matchup. Aaron Kraft, like you said, his 8 years of college finally coming to an end versus Tyler Ennis, a high-ranked freshman. But as far as not Elite 8, Sweet 16, so the 8 teams I have coming out the South, Florida, VCU, Ohio State, and Kansas. So that's my...
Well, Darius, I have the exact same Sweet 16 as you do. I have my big pick. I got VCU beating UCLA as well, which seems to be... I guess kind of just me and Darius versus.
So we split.
We split it. I do have Pittsburgh also beating Colorado. I think my bracket looks exactly the same as yours through Sweet 16, because I have Florida, VCU, Ohio State, Kansas. I do not like Syracuse. I've seen them play a lot this year. Talk about disappointing. Everybody was saying how they're number one, and even when they were number one, they probably shouldn't have been because they escaped a few of those games early where they probably should have lost, but they escaped.
I was
especially that Duke game.
Yeah. I was standing up for him against Darius just to make Darius a little upset, and I feel like afterwards I'm like, man, maybe Jim Boeheim is overrated.
So I just refuse to roll with Syracuse at all. I've seen Ohio State a few times. I think this might be one of the worst teams of the Aaron Kraft era, his 8 years there. But I'll take Ohio State over Syracuse. They just have looked probably the most overrated team I've seen all year. The other one is Arizona. We'll get to them in a bit. So that's my Sweet 16. Who I have coming out into the Elite Eight for, I think, all of my brackets except this one. I went with Ohio State over Kansas. I don't like Kansas at all. I think Andrew Wiggins is incredibly overrated. A good player, but incredibly overrated. But this one, I decided to go with Kansas over Ohio State just for the sake of numbers. And then my other team is, of course, Florida. I feel like they were the best team all year, probably. So I got Florida and Kansas in that Elite Eight matchup.
Yeah. I have Kansas versus Florida in the Elite Eight matchup in the South region. I picked it because I think Embiid's going to come back. I don't know how healthy, but just a little bit healthy. His presence down low. And then seeing them play in the Big 12 tournament, he is escaping my mind right now. But he just had a huge game against Iowa State, even though they lost. I cannot think of it for right now. He looks good that he could take the pressure off of not having to be there for the first weekend. But I like Florida way too much. Them handling the preseason number one Kentucky handedly.
Yeah.
They had a little trouble with their semifinal game, but I still like Florida. Florida is senior-led, and I like the senior-led teams that love to stay. You were going back, Kansas going on. I have Kansas playing New Mexico, and I have them going to the Elite Eight, but I'm going to cheer for New Mexico while I'm down there in St. Louis. I have no problem with that.
I've got Syracuse actually going to the Elite Eight. I think Kansas is going to have a problem with that zone. I don't know if Embiid's going to be as effective because he's going to be pushed around. He's going to be guarded by Fair. He's going to be guarded by Grant down there. Just really athletic guys that can actually challenge his shot, even though they're a little shorter. And I think they'll rough him up a little bit. I mean, maybe hip check him. See if his back's okay. And then I got Florida. I just think I've got him going up against VCU in the Sweet 16. I think what beats the press of VCU is experience, guys who really keep their calm in the face of all that havoc. And Florida definitely has that with 4 seniors starting. And then they've got depth and athletes. Athletes beat a press a lot. Ball movement beats the press a lot. And Florida's just a complete team.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was so close to Matt, like you having Ohio State beating Kansas, but I actually put Kansas. I think just, some of the athleticism on that team, and Embiid should be back by then, so I think it'll be enough to beat Ohio State. And then I have VCU beating Florida, riding with my boy Shaka Smart. That's going to be the biggest upset of the tournament.
Is this with your head or your heart?
Well, it's got to be with my heart because I ain't seen Florida play at all this year,
okay.
So I have no idea. I know they have the SEC Player of the Year. I don't even know the dude's name, and if I see him, I feel like he's somebody I probably see like walking around here somewhere. But I haven't seen them play. Only person I know involved with Florida is Billy Donovan. So I mean, I don't know any of them. Oh no, I know they have Patrick Young, the extra strong dude who seems to have really no game as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I got VCU beating Florida. That press, I feel like that's going to end up hopefully doing something just to make my bracket right. I have no analysis because I did not watch enough college basketball. Right. So there you go.
For me, for that Elite Eight game, the South Regional champion, I think, will be Florida. I have them beating Kansas in this bracket pretty heavily. I've been really impressed. I've only seen them a few times, but I've seen a lot of their highlights on ESPN, and I've seen a lot of guys like Jay Billis and a lot of the other guys on ESPN talk up Florida a lot. And I don't know, it just seems like the past couple of years there's been one kind of power team. You could talk about Kentucky a few years ago where they were the overwhelming favorite if there was one. Who else? 2009 was Carolina. I remember I went with them. They won that was the most dominant team in tournament history, if I'm not mistaken. Even 2010 Duke. So I've kind of rolled with them lately, and it's pulled out pretty well for me, so I'm going to roll with Florida as the South Regional champion right there.
I also have Florida, and I have it because their big guys are going to push around Kansas way too much with Embiid or without him. Iowa State, that's how they beat them. They just pushed him around and was way too physical down low, and they knew where the weakness was without him there. I think even when he comes back, they're going to be weak down low, but not as much. So I have Florida in the Final Four.
I have Florida going up against Syracuse in that Elite Eight. I have Florida advancing. The one thing that can pull Syracuse out of a zone is getting up on them and forcing them to play man. Shooting does that. Three-point shooting does that. Yeah. And Florida has a freshman, Michael Frazier III. If you've never seen him shoot, the guy can flat out stroke it. I mean, he's hit 5 in a row sometimes, and he causes headaches when he's in the game. I just think Florida's got too much for Syracuse.
And, VCU. VCU versus Kansas in the Elite Eight. And I'm riding with my boy Shaka Smart again. VCU returning to the Final Four.
I really hope, nothing against VCU, I really hope they lose and don't make the Final Four, because I don't want to listen to Darius live on air. Just tell all of us off. Just all of us.
VCU returns to the Final Four. Sometimes you have to be a little crazy with these brackets, and so there you go. I don't feel like that region, really, like besides Florida, honestly, I don't believe the rest of that region is strong at all. So, of course, Florida is a strong team, and they're going to have to play them eventually, unless they lose to UCLA, like y'all said.
Teams play to their potential that we've seen early on. It would be an awesome. Yeah, it would be an awesome bracket with Kansas and Syracuse. You just don't know what you're getting from them. I mean, if you had those top 3 teams playing on full momentum, like they should be, easy. Probably the second toughest bracket.
But right now, I think as it stands, I think it's easily Florida. So we got 3 Florida South Regional champions and 1 VCU South
Shaka.
Regional champion.
Come on, Shaka.
He's done it before, so we'll see if he can do it again. We'll move down to the East region. For me, my Sweet 16 is, what do I got? I got Virginia versus Michigan State, North Carolina versus Villanova, and I think my upsets is I do have North Carolina beating Iowa State. I know they're arguably the hottest team going into the tournament, but I don't see the hype with them. I haven't seen any of their full games, but I have seen the highlights. They do look good, but I think the opponents aren't quite up to, say, what North Carolina has played. And as a Carolina fan, they have looked really good and really bad this year at times. I think we see a good team, especially the first couple rounds. I think they bring it for Iowa State. I think they match up well with Iowa State. And Marcus Page has been amazing as the Carolina point guard. He's hit a couple game winners throughout this year, and I like what I've seen from him. One of the most underrated players in the country. So I guess that's an upset, is the 6th-seeded UNC I have beating Iowa State. For me, I think the best matchup of the first round actually comes in this bracket, or this region, of the bracket. Cincinnati versus Harvard, I think, is going to be the best first-round game we see anywhere in this entire bracket. So that's what I got through the Sweet 16 for the East.
I have Virginia versus Michigan State, and then Iowa State versus Villanova. And mine's just going to be simple. I basically almost chalked this bracket up to this point. Not much upsets. The only upset I see, but I couldn't go with it. I just don't like picking Harvard. Harvard over Cincinnati. I still had to pick Cincinnati. I still think they had the tougher competition. Being in the American, I think that's the only one. And maybe St. Joseph's, because they rode pretty hot winning the
they won the A10.
They won the A10, and they had to basically win to get to the championship, maybe even come off the bubble and get in. So they could beat UConn, but I still have UConn winning. So, yeah, I'm all chalked on that one.
I have 3 upsets in this. I actually have Harvard beating Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati struggles to score at times, with Sean Kilpatrick being their main guy. You'll see some of him in the NBA. I think he's a really good player, but Tommy Amaker coaches Harvard.
The former Michigan coach.
He was at Michigan. He played at Duke. I think he's big time. I think his team's big time too. I have North Carolina losing to Providence. I think Providence is hot. And actually, the rest of the 2 upset picks are teams that won their conference championships. I have St. Joe's beating UConn also. ever since UConn got on that hot streak and eventually rode it to the national championship with Walker and Calhoun, I've been a fan of teams that are hot, that win their conference championships and are playing with momentum. So I've got the Heels going down, I've got UConn going down, but I've still got Virginia playing Michigan State. I've still got Iowa State playing Villanova in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, for Sweet 16, I have Virginia versus Michigan State and Iowa State versus Villanova. But I'm with you because I have St. Joe's beating UConn. I don't like UConn from the times I've seen them play. I don't really. I mean, as a 7 seed, they're not really all that good. Like you said, St. Joe's is hot. They won their last few games. So yeah, that's really the only upset I really have in here. I was close to doing the whole Harvard versus Cincy thing. We know that 12s a lot of times beat 5s at least in one of these regions. But I don't know. I feel like maybe Cincinnati with Sean Kilpatrick can possibly pull out that game. But that, like I said, that's the only game I had on winning because then I had Michigan State beating them. So that's really it. I almost went with George Washington over Memphis too.
I had a hard one with that one too.
Yeah.
I just like the A-10 this year.
Yeah, so well. I didn't really know what move to make with that one, but I just decided. Like usually when I don't know, I usually just go with the higher seed. And that usually doesn't work out too well. But it's okay. So, yeah, like I said, Virginia, Michigan State, Iowa State, and Villanova.
All right, so for me, when it comes to the Elite Eight, I have Michigan State, I guess, upsetting number 1 seeded Virginia, which seems to actually be, from I've been watching, a popular pick. And I think in 2 of my brackets, I actually have North Carolina in the Elite Eight. But this bracket, I'm rolling with Villanova. I haven't seen any of them. I can't admit that. All I know about Villanova is McDermott tore him up in that game, which I believe Villanova still won. He did it twice, yes, Ryan. Thank you for that. So other than that, that's all I've heard from Villanova. They were quiet. I'm surprised they got a 2 seed. Them and Virginia.
Yeah.
And Virginia in this bracket are 2 of the under-the-radar teams, really high seeds that nobody's heard a lot of. So I got Michigan State over Virginia and Villanova in this bracket over North Carolina. But I think that would be a really good game. Once again, it depends on which North Carolina we see.
Well, I'm going to probably have if it works out right, I'm going to have probably one of the most exciting matchups probably in the tournament if it happens. I have Michigan State playing Iowa State, 2 teams that are just going to be forceful, and I could see punches being thrown at this game if it's all said because they're just both physical teams. I just like how both of their momentums, and they both won their conference tourneys, and I like momentum when it's going up in time for the tournament.
I also have Michigan State playing Iowa State. I'm not a huge believer in Villanova. Just haven't seen enough of them, and I have seen enough of Iowa State. I was very tempted to pick Virginia. I've seen them play. Love their coach, Tony Bennett, son of Dick Bennett, who coached at Wisconsin. They play defense, and I love that. I compare them to a more efficient, a better, a more athletic Wisconsin team, almost. I mean, they play defense. They beat Duke twice this season, so they have good wins. They have some bad losses, but I couldn't do it. Michigan State's riding a hot streak, and they're finally healthy.
Yeah, I had the same thing here. Michigan State versus Iowa State. I mean, y'all basically said all that needs to be said. Michigan State right now seems to be almost everybody's favorite to possibly win this whole thing. They're healthy. They struggle with injuries, but it seemed like when they were healthy, they were basically the best team in the country.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't really know how you can pick against them. They got a really good draw with this region. The rest of this region is really not all that good. So, I mean, Michigan State, even though they're a 4 seed, it's kind of like they're number 1 because I really think just they're legitimately better than all these teams. So, Michigan State versus Iowa State is the Elite 8 game.
Yeah, I agree with that, Darius. Actually, we got a tweet. I didn't see this at first. My brother actually tweeted at us. That's at Mike_Elman. He said he has St. Joe's, a 10 seed, beating Villanova, which we talked about, and any others as a bracket busters. So which bracket busters stand out to us? So thanks, Mike, for that tweet. We'll actually get to that to the end. I'll hold my brother's question until the very end when we recap our brackets. We'll get through all the regions first. And then I guess we can recap who do we see the bracket busters as, and we can kind of do that as we go through. Yeah. So, because that was also kind of a tough matchup for me, too, was that UConn-St. Joe's matchup back in the first round, because I've seen a little bit of UConn. They've been hit or miss. I know they were led by Kevin Boatwright, who's from our area. Yeah. He went to East Aurora. I saw him play against West. I had some family who went to West Aurora, and we went to that game, which they hold at NIU. Mike, I know if you're listening still, you were there with me when we saw Boatwright play, and he's kind of led the Huskies this year. For me, I have Michigan State and Villanova in this Elite Eight game, and I have Michigan State rolling with this one. Mark, if you are listening, you were up here a few weeks ago when you lost your keys, and we're stuck in Macomb for a day. Hopefully this can make up for that, because I got your Spartans rolling into the Final Four and East Regional Champions.
I have Michigan State also. Go Sparty, go Tom Izzo. Probably my favorite coach in the NCAA by far.
It was really hard to actually pick this one because I know a couple of buddies of mine are big Iowa State fans, and I've been riding Michigan State all year. I said initially in our preseason show that they're my favorite to win it all, but I took Iowa State. I just think they're riding such a hot streak, and they match up decent with Michigan State. Athleticism-wise, they're probably more athletic. And I think it's time. I think Fred Hoiberg takes a team to the Final Four. They're ready to bust down the door.
That was a very nice speech you gave. But I'm still going to go with Michigan State. That's my team to go to the Final Four out of the East region.
All right, so we got, 3 Michigan States and 1 Iowa State out of there? So that's kind of how it's been so far. We'll see if that continues. As we move on to the West bracket, for me, I got Oklahoma State in the Sweet 16, so there's one of my early upsets. I'm riding. I got them going pretty far in this, I'll tell you that right now. I like what I've seen since Marcus Smart has gotten back from injury. They just have too much talent on that team, not just with Smart, but I know they got a couple other big names on there that could make waves even in the NBA, and I just think they have too much talent. They're finally starting to click, I think, at the right time, so I think they can make a deep run. I think Smart especially steps up on the biggest stage. So I got Oklahoma State upsetting Arizona, which I told you guys all before the show. I've seen Arizona play about 3 or 4 times this year. They have been, if Syracuse was the most disappointing, I think Arizona was the second most disappointing / overrated team for me this year. I do not like them at all. I can't roll with them. So I got Oklahoma State not only upsetting Gonzaga, but also Arizona. Then I also have San Diego State in there, Nebraska, and Wisconsin. What I like about Nebraska is this guy, I got him right here. I can't. Taron Petaway, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I've seen Nebraska play a few times on the Big Ten Network. The dude is a stud. I think other than maybe Jabari Parker, he's going to be the guy you see as the best player of this possible draft class. I think he's a 6'6" guard, uber athletic. He's a hell of a playmaker. I like him a lot. He's my type of player, especially for the NBA. That's why I like Nebraska to make it to the Sweet 16 where they play Wisconsin for me.
Yeah, I have Arizona versus San Diego State, and then I have Creighton versus Wisconsin. The only big upset I have is Nebraska beating Baylor. Nebraska has Petaway. I like him, even though he destroyed Illinois the time they played him. But I really like Creighton, even though I have them losing up against Wisconsin. But I would like to see them make it to the second week of the tournament. The only other I could see North Dakota State beating Oklahoma, but I'm going to go with Oklahoma with good old Illini coach Lon Kruger at the helm. I just want them to win one.
This is actually my upset bracket or region. I do have Oklahoma State also beating Arizona. I've never been impressed by Arizona. Aaron Gordon doesn't impress me at all.
Not at all.
I mean, even transitioning to the NBA, which he's probably going to after this year, I think he'll be a bust. He is soft. I think they compare him to Blake Griffin, and I think he is Blake Griffin. As in when he was in college, all he could do is dunk.
Yep.
Not impressed by him, and Oklahoma State's too athletic. They're way more athletic than Arizona.
They just have too much talent. That's what I've seen this year.
Yeah, they have too much talent to just get out in the round of 32. I have OU also going on, so I have Oklahoma State, OU in the Sweet 16. I have Baylor also advancing on. I have them beating Creighton. I just think they're tough, and they're finally hitting their stride. They advanced to the championship of the Big 12 game, and they got length and toughness down low, and I think that's going to give old Dougie McBuckets some problems. And then I've got Wisconsin. I think they got a very favorable draw.
Yeah.
Oregon's dangerous. They beat Arizona late, but
I don't think Oregon has the defense.
Right. I think Wisconsin.
It's like how they play football.
Yeah, Wisconsin is going to have their way scoring points.
Okay, I definitely have Wisconsin, in the Sweet 16. I have Nebraska beating Baylor. It was tough for me picking that game versus Creighton. I have Creighton somehow pulling out. I still don't know. Because I just said this now, that means I can't change it. But as you were talking, I was really about to scratch it out and put Nebraska here. I don't really like Creighton at all. I mean, I say every week Doug McDermott is definitely the player of the year.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. Something about Creighton just doesn't sit right with me. As far as, up top, I have San Diego State. I do have Oklahoma State beating Gonzaga. Man, Matt, you just made me feel like so messed up about picking Zona as far as I did. I haven't seen.
It's okay. I will make you more disappointed.
So I mean, I have Arizona beating Oklahoma State, and I have them playing San Diego State. Man, like I said, I didn't really see. I seen a little bit of Arizona play, maybe like 3 times, and like 2 of them were losses at the end. So I haven't seen.
I'm telling
too much.
you can't roll with them. That Eric Gordon too. I saw him play a few times. Man, he is soft. He's not your type of player. I know you, Darius. He's not your type of player.
This is not good. Sometimes it's not good that we have audio of this, because then I can't change stuff that I say. So yeah, I have Arizona in the Sweet 16, and sadly even further than I don't even want to talk about it.
Well, I guess I could answer my brother's Twitter question, Mike. I guess my biggest bracket buster would probably be Nebraska for me. I got them in the Sweet 16. I'm telling you, I like what I've seen from them a lot. They're a gritty team. Coming out of the Sweet 16 for me, moving on to the Elite Eight. My Elite Eight is Marcus Smart and Oklahoma State. I'm probably the only one with that, but I got Oklahoma State and Wisconsin in the Elite Eight for me. I think that would be a very interesting matchup, kind of contrasting styles there.
And I have Arizona facing Wisconsin. And I'll just get over my Final Four for my Final Four pick now, because you guys are just going to laugh at me. I have Arizona beating Wisconsin.
I have the same one as you, Matt. I have Oklahoma State winning the Bedlam game against OU, and then I have Wisconsin beating Baylor.
My boy.
Their guards are better than Baylor's, and I don't think Baylor can make the Elite Eight like a few years ago.
Clearly, Ryan knows more about college basketball than any of us, because he picked. Let's see, who did you have? You had Arizona and Wisconsin, and you had Arizona winning. Well, that's what I had, so now I feel a little bit better now.
Up top.
There you go. Look at that. Arizona in the Final Four, somehow.
Unlike you two, I have Wisconsin in the Final Four. So we're split on that one. Yeah, 2 Arizonas, 2 Wisconsins. So I guess that will sum up the West for us right there. We got a lot of contrasting styles I see going on in the West.
Finally for the West. It was basically, we had almost everything. The West finally
opened it up a bit. Yeah.
Now I'm going to predict right now for the Midwest, none of us are going to have the same Final Four team.
Okay.
I'm just going to predict that.
Well, yeah, I could see that. I think so. For me, my Sweet 16 is as follows: Wichita State, Louisville, Duke, and Michigan. That's what I went with. I saw no real upsets in there for me. I guess Arizona State I have beating Texas.
Yeah, same here. That's what I have.
I have the same thing. I have Wichita versus Louisville and Duke versus Michigan. I cannot have Kentucky go after the first week. I just cannot let them go to the second weekend. I also have, I guess, a minor upset. My big upset of the whole tournament would probably be North Carolina State over St. Louis. St. Louis is limping into the tournament, and I can't believe they got a 5 seed. They were limping in that bad. The only other thing I could see is Texas beating Michigan, just on the premise of Texas has a couple big boys down low, and that's what ruined them with Michigan State in the championship game of the Big Ten Conference. That's the only thing. I basically have the top 4 seeds going on for the Sweet 16.
I also have the top 4 seeds: Wichita, Louisville, Duke, Michigan. I do have some first-round upsets. I do have NC State also beating St. Louis. St. Louis doesn't impress me a lot. They have one good guard, I think, and North Carolina State has the ACC Player of the Year in TJ Warren. He impressed me last night.
That's why I waited to make my pick.
Yes.
If Xavier beat them, I was going to go with St. Louis.
I've got Tennessee winning tonight against Iowa, and I've got them beating UMass. I saw UMass play, not impressed with them. And Tennessee impressed me playing Florida in the SEC Championship. And I'm going to roll with Arizona State beating Texas. Actually, I'll go on the women's side. I have a classmate that plays for Arizona State. I might be going to see her this weekend if I don't travel with the baseball team. They're playing Vanderbilt right now, and they'll play Notre Dame if they win. So, good for them.
Okay, like some of y'all said already, I have Arizona State beating Texas. I was waiting on the game tonight, Iowa and Tennessee, because I do believe that Tennessee can beat UMass, even Iowa possibly, but since, our show is on Wednesday, I just put UMass in. It was just like, forget it. Yeah, I actually have St. Louis beating Louisville. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I knew they were limping into the tournament, but I mean, I'm kind of going off things they've done in years past, which isn't too smart, but it's okay. Because, ain't nobody going to check me on it, so there you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my, let's see, Sweet 16, Wichita State, St. Louis, Duke, and Michigan.
For me, my only playing game I have winning, I think both, Iowa or Tennessee will beat UMass. I think UMass is laughably overrated, to quote Bleacher Report when I was doing some research. I think they're the most overrated, overseeded team in the tournament. So I think both Iowa and Tennessee, whoever wins that, I got either of them beating UMass. Coming out of the Sweet 16 and into the Elite Eight, I have Wichita State over Louisville, which seems to be an unpopular pick from doing research, but I love the Shockers. They're probably next to like a Michigan or North Carolina. They're my favorite team in this. They play my style of basketball. And then I think in two of my three brackets, I have Michigan over Duke, but for this one, I'm going off what happened earlier in the year. I got Duke over Michigan, so I got Wichita State and Duke in the Midwest Elite Eight.
I have Louisville beating Wichita State and Duke beating Michigan. Sorry, Wichita State. That perfect season is going to end in my bracket. You're going to get out of the first weekend, but after that, no. Good going, but you needed to play some more teams in that preseason to get me to let you go a little bit further.
I've got Wichita State also. Moving on and beating Louisville. I think Fred VanVleet will actually outplay Russ Smith.
Yep, I agree.
Show that 815 calm, cool, collected spirit right there. And I've got Michigan beating Duke. I think they match up very well, and I think they're going to bother them. Being a Big Ten team and playing some defense, being close to the shooters really bothers Duke, and I think that'll be the difference.
Okay, well, Matt, I'm with you. I have Wichita State and Duke. I have Wichita State beating St. Louis, and then I have Duke beating Michigan. If it just so happens that I was incorrect and Louisville does beat St. Louis, and so they end up playing Wichita State, I do hope that Fred VanVleet lights up Russ Smith, because as I was saying, to Matt and Ryan out there, I can't stand Russ Smith, because last year when they was on their little title run, one of these little weak draft experts compared him to Allen Iverson, and that's so disrespectful. Don't you ever compare him to a legend as great as AI. So whoever Russ Smith plays, I hope he gets lit up in every game. Whether they lose the first game, I don't care. I just hope that as long as they don't repeat, really, that's all that matters to me.
Well, I love Fred VanVleet because for me, I think he's the most underrated player in the country. One of them, definitely. I think he might be the best point guard in the country. If not the best, he's top three. He's probably, I'd say, my favorite next to maybe Nick Stauskas this whole year. And just the up-tempo pace that Wichita State plays, I love it. I think it works well in college ball. We saw it work multiple times at North Carolina. It's the Roy Williams. We have no half-court offense. We just do fast break, even on made baskets. So I'm a fan of that, and I think it works real well in college ball. So for me, coming out of the Elite Eight, I got Wichita State and Duke. I think this is a great game. It goes down to the wire. But I think the experience of last year helps Wichita State out a lot. And I got them beating Duke, and I ultimately think being led by some young players, especially Jabari Parker, who's only a freshman, I think hurts Duke despite the fact they have Coach K. I just like Wichita State a little bit more. Maybe even a 1-point buzzer beater win. I got Wichita State as my Final Four team and the Midwest champion for this year.
I have Louisville, and I'm riding with them. I like them in the American Conference tournament, but I also like them throughout. They played Kentucky tough. They didn't have the toughest non-conference schedule, but I like. I don't know how to pronounce it. The Harrell guy down.
Montrezl Harrell.
Harrell. I like him. He is. I don't know how to compare him. I guess it would be I don't know how to compare him, but I just like his tenacity. I like his ups, and I usually don't like. I guess he's the closest to Dunk City, I guess, in college basketball. So I'm going running with Louisville.
I've got Wichita State against Michigan in the Elite Eight. I've got Michigan coming out. I think they match up really well. I think this is a region of matchups for me. Michigan matches up well. I think the key is going to be Glenn Robinson III, because he hasn't brought it all year.
Yeah.
And if he plays big against the likes of Cleanthony Early and some of the big guys for Wichita State, he's going to do well, I think. And if they can free up Stauskas, that's been the huge thing. And that point guard, Walton, if he keeps playing the way he's played all year, I think Michigan is your Final Four for the Midwest.
Yeah.
Okay, I was right. None of us have the same Final Four team. Wichita State versus Duke, and I have Duke advancing to the Final Four. I never liked Duke. I always have respect for Coach K, like him, but I never liked their players. But this year, their team is something different. With Jabari Parker, I like Rodney Hood. I told y'all left-hand players got to stick together. So I hope Jabari, just really goes like on a Carmelo-type run this tournament, which gives y'all a little hint on how far I see them go.
Yeah. I think if you have any history of March Madness, you know what that means right there. So we got what? Wichita State, Louisville, Michigan, and Duke. So there you go.
I think
Darius,
that bracket's going to decide who
the Midwest is going to decide the C4 champion. For me, the Final Four, my first matchup is Florida and Michigan State. I'm rolling with Florida in this one. I just think they have too much firepower. I think they are, I guess I've termed it the juggernaut because I went with Kentucky 2 years ago when they were the juggernaut. My brother, so Mike, if you're still listening, I remember we fought. He had Kansas, I had Kentucky, and he was a bit salty after that one. But I've learned to roll with the juggernaut in terms like this. Michigan State might be the hot team. You could make the case that when healthy they were the best team in the country, but I think Florida has proven it all year. I think they were the best team in the country, the powerhouse team, if you will, if there was one. So that's why I'm rolling. I'm going to roll with Florida. I just think they have too many weapons, and Michigan State hasn't shown it yet for me to roll with them.
All right. I have Florida beating Michigan State, and it was just a toss-up for me. I think Michigan State's run ends. I don't think it's there for the whole tournament, and I have Arizona beating Louisville. I'm sorry, guys. I'm disappointed.
Wow, you have Arizona in the title game?
I have Arizona in the title game. I think they just got too tired playing in the Pac-10, and they want to play some teams outside of their conference because they were strong outside of their conference. They were probably the best team. That's how they got up to the number 1 seed. Then when you get into the Pac-10, they were just tired of playing the likes of Utah and them. So like I said, when they get into this tournament, I think that they're good.
All right, so who you at? You at Arizona versus who?
I have Arizona versus Florida in the championship game.
I've got Florida versus Iowa State in one semifinal. I think the Gators take that one. I just think the experience ties back into it. Experience is huge in any sport for me, and especially in college ball. With those 4 seniors for Florida, Iowa State hasn't been there. And they've got the talent to probably make a championship game, but Florida's been there, done that, and I think they get it done. And then on the other side, I've got a Big Ten matchup with Wisconsin going up against Michigan. Believe it'll be the, 4th time they've played or 3rd. So very familiar. I think Michigan's got too much. I think the talent, they're very even teams. They like to get up and score. Don't normally say that about a Wisconsin team, but I don't think they can stop Michigan. I wouldn't be surprised if Stauskas puts up 40 against.
Interesting you say that with the Wisconsin hoodie on.
Yeah. The viewers don't know that, or the listeners don't know that.
Sorry, my bad.
Oh, man. So Michigan back in the title again. That's interesting.
I'm fine with that.
I actually don't have a problem with that. Besides, it would just mess up my bracket. But I mean,
as a Michigan fan, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I wish they would have won last year. I was rooting for them. So I mean, that's fine. VCU, man, that's funny every time I say it. VCU versus Michigan State. No, Shaka, the bus ends here. Michigan State.
All right, I was waiting for it. I thought I was going to the title game.
No, I can't go that far. Michigan State, I had them in the title game. Like I said, they're so healthy. I just feel like they're just on track right now, to do some good things. Arizona versus Duke. I have Duke actually in the title game. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and announce this winner right now. Duke versus Michigan State. Now, I'm just going to let y'all know, I had this game, down yesterday, but I didn't put the winner in until, right before I came in here. and I wrote down Duke.
All right.
What explanation?
So we have,
None.
We have Darius Hawkins, national champion. That is Duke University. I actually didn't give my second game of the Final Four. I had a little brain fart. For me, my second game, I had Florida over Michigan State. My second game was Wisconsin and Wichita State. I got the Shockers going to the championship game with a chance at perfection. I guess a little bit of an upset over Wisconsin. I just feel I don't like Wisconsin as a team. I just feel they have the matchups in their bracket to be able to come out of there in the Final Four. And like I said, Wichita State, my type of team. And not only are they play my type of ball, they're like Western. They're a smaller school, maybe not as small as us, but they are a smaller school. I don't want to say Cinderella, they're a number 1 seed, but definitely repping us little boys out there. So I like what they got. I know they're big criticism. They haven't played anybody, but I think the matchups are good for them other than maybe Louisville. I'm pretty confident with them over Duke, but maybe Louisville scares me a little bit with Wichita State, but I definitely think they can take Wisconsin. So that makes my title game Florida versus Wichita State, and sadly, the quest of perfection ends one game short.
You can't pick one to go this far.
I got Florida ruining perfection in the title game. Florida is just the closest we have to a complete team in college basketball. Wichita State can go all the way there, but they're not going to beat the juggernaut that is the Florida Gators. So, Darius, you have Duke. Matt Langman's national champion is the Florida Gators. I wanted to pick Wichita. I want them to win. I want them to win. If they gets that far and that is the game, I'm rooting for Wichita. My boy Fred Van Vliet and all them guys.
I'm about to say, you spent this whole time talking about representing the little man, and then the type of team you like.
The whole time I said
undefeated, and then you get to the
Billy
title
Donovan
game.
just rushes
all the way undefeated.
I
all
was
the way
riding
to the
Florida,
last
though.
game.
I said they were the best team. I kind of tried to lead to that because I said I've been rolling with the juggernauts, and it's paid out the last few years.
That's a heartbreaker right there. You undefeated, you're all the way right there.
That's why, too, I go for the drama, too, and I think that it ends. Like, Illinois had it in 2005 when North Carolina beat them. They were going to set the record, I believe, for the best record ever or something in the modern era, and North Carolina shut their hopes down.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I'm sorry, Wichita. I see the dream falling just one game short because Florida's just too good. They're as close as we have to the most complete team in college basketball. And, yeah, I've rolled with the juggernaut before. I'm doing it again. So I got Florida.
And I'm going to go right off of you, Matt, and say that Billy Donovan will be cutting down the nets for the third time. Florida wins. This team reminds me of his Joakim Noah teams, just powerhouse. And I didn't even like Joakim Noah's teams back then.
Yeah.
So Florida over Arizona. I still have it as a close game. My final score is going to be 78-72.
I've got Florida against Michigan. Michigan gets there again, and the result is the same, a loss to Florida. I'm going to make it 3 straight on C4. They're too complete. It's going to be a very good game if it sets up that way. It's going to be Stauskas against Wilbekin. It's very good matchups. It's going to be GR3 against Patrick Young down low. And I think if it happens that way, you're going to see the real Glenn Robinson and how soft he is. Because Patrick Young is, if you've ever seen him, he's got muscles on muscles.
He's going to be real good in the NBA.
So I've got Florida. Billy Donovan wins his third.
Darius, you're the only one here without Florida. So we got Florida, and Duke
kind of like with our football teams. I mean,
that is true. So knowing this, if history has taught us, well, listeners, you should roll with Darius because we were all confident. I was the only one who even gave the Seahawks a chance in the Super Bowl. I remember that, and I did that. I thought it was going to be a bigger blowout than it was, and I just respected Seattle's defense by making it like a 1-touchdown game. And ended up being the exact opposite. So listeners, don't listen to the white boys. Roll with Darius on this one.
Oh man. Oh, this is gonna be a real interesting tournament.
Yeah.
I really want to see how far Wichita State can go. Like I know we have the whole bracket filled out and everything, but that's really the one team that I'm watching more than anybody. I really want to see what they can do. Because they're going to be playing when they play Kentucky, some people I think have them losing that game.
Yeah.
And I really want to see how they match up, Because I feel like they're kind of like
I do want to see how that matchup would go.
I'm telling you, I have Wichita State obviously in the championship game, but I think the matchup that does scare me the most, and I believe in them, I do, despite the lack of, I guess, tough opponents during the regular season, is Louisville. I think if there is one that can beat them, is Louisville. I think if Louisville beats Wichita State, the winner of that Louisville-Wichita State Sweet 16 game will be my Final Four team from the Midwest right there. I think they both of them beat Duke or Michigan in the next round.
So did we have that bracket bust
To answer my brother's question,
yeah,
for me, I think my bracket buster is Nebraska. Honestly, as an 11 seed, I have them in the Sweet 16. Yeah, I think that's the only double-digit seed. Yeah, that I have going past the second round is Nebraska in the Sweet 16 for me.
I don't have any double-digit seeds in the Sweet 16, which is weird because I usually like upsets. If I'm gonna pick a bracket buster to come through and screw stuff up, I'm gonna go outside the box. Nobody's even thinking and really upset. No, I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna leave that for another question for everybody. I could see NC State playing a play-in game has helped you. If that says anything, VCU did it the first year they decided to do the first 4 games. Mm-hmm. So I could see NC State doing it because they have the ACC Player of the Year and a bracket buster just because they're still a mid-major, even though in the Big East. A bracket buster to go through, I could see Creighton causing some trouble in going through. But those are my bracket busters if I had to pick somebody.
The 1-2 that I have, Adam, you have the same one as Oklahoma State. We both have the 9 seed in the Elite 8.
Yeah, I guess that you could call that my big kind of surprise pick. Even though it's not surprising, if you look at them, if you actually watch them play and look at them on paper, you're like, okay, NBA talent. I guess as far as a bracket buster or a double-digit seed, I don't have any likewise. And I feel this is the year, if any, there's going to be double-digit seeds moving on. Don't be surprised if St. Joe's 1 beats UConn and then beats Nova. Familiarity. Those schools are both in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. So don't be surprised. There's no brotherly love lost in that rivalry.
Yeah, I think as far as bracket busters, I'll probably have to say Oklahoma State. Even though, Ryan, what you were saying, I don't really have any double-digit seeds really moving too far besides the first games. Yeah. Of course, y'all know I got VCU in the Final Four, and that's gonna bust somebody's bracket up if that happens. But Oklahoma State is definitely a team to look out for. Nebraska as well. I think it's really just with the West region because the rest of them. Double-digit seeds in the Midwest, I don't really see. The East, I could see St. Joe's and maybe Dayton in the South because if they beat Ohio State, Syracuse hasn't necessarily been playing all that great, so maybe look out for Dayton too. But besides that, I don't really see too many teams.
I guess for me, one more I have North Carolina in the Sweet 16, but they're only a 6. But I know a lot of people are down. Not many people have them even beating Iowa State. A couple people have them being upset by Providence even. I think looking at this, it's interesting. I think the South is pretty weak, honestly, because like you had said, Ryan, it should be really good, but it's actually pretty weak other than Florida, really, we have out there. And the Midwest is, to use a soccer term, what the United States got stuck with for this summer is the group of death, I believe, is the Midwest region. You got Michigan, Duke, Louisville, even St. Louis and Wichita State. Mm-hmm. You can even throw Kentucky in there. They kind of underachieved a bit. Not quite the freshman talent pool Calipari is used to, but they're still loaded with talent and athleticism as Calipari teams always are. So I think the South and the Midwest are just exact opposites. And the West, when I look at the West, it's just interesting matchups. Coming into the tournament, I would have never thought I would pick Wisconsin in the Final Four, but I just think Oregon, Nebraska, and Oklahoma State, or possibly Arizona / even San Diego State, they all match up well for Wisconsin to make a Final Four run.
Yeah. I have a question, and Darius, I want your honest opinion. I know you picked this team to go far. Mm-hmm. What are the chances that SF Austin can make a run? 27, I think at least 27 games.
28 game
winning streak. I know 12 seed gets them up there to show what they're made of. I mean, 27, you have to acknowledge that. I don't have them winning just because you just don't know who they've played and the talent they've been around. But could they make a little run and make it to the Sweet 16? You guys think?
Sweet 16, let's see. Well, they had to. Yeah, they could. Because when I got this bracket, I didn't just go, VCU, that's how far I want them to go. I actually was thinking about, when I heard the win streak from SF Austin, I was thinking they might actually beat VCU. And I kind of still think that now. I think it's a chance that they can beat VCU. which of course will mess up my bracket. But teams in the past I never cared about that, like Georgetown last year. So I mean, they definitely can beat VCU. I don't know how good UCLA is. I haven't seen them play. So, I mean, y'all would have to tell me how good they are. But besides that, I mean, if they beat them, then, of course, that's Sweet 16. So, I think they could make a run. But then again, like you said, we don't really know who they've actually played. That's really probably all I have to say about that. So, I think it probably depends on UCLA because VCU, they probably can beat them.
I think they can, but I just think VCU's press makes the difference.
Yeah.
I don't think it's unlike any speed or athleticism that Stephen F. Austin has faced in the Southland Conference. UCLA, I saw them play a little bit. If they end up beating VCU, Stephen F. Austin does, they go up against the likes of a UCLA. I don't think it matches up well because UCLA's got a bunch of projectable NBA talent. Okay. They've got an Anderson kid that is very good. They've got the two Ware twins out there who transferred from North Carolina. Yeah. Also, though, don't be surprised if Tulsa beats UCLA.
Yeah, I was gonna
say
that.
It's weird and it's wacky, but Danny Manning, the former KU star, coaches Tulsa.
That's right.
So it could happen. You never know.
He had a nice suit for that championship game. He probably was the best dressed coach of the whole weekend. He had the pinstripes going on, and he looked like a 40s, 50s gangster. Basically, out there without the little fedora hat going on.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that Tulsa over UCLA upset because doing my research for this, I saw a decent, not a lot, but a decent amount of experts actually picking Tulsa to beat UCLA and beat VCU as well and make it to the Sweet 16 where they would lose to Florida. But yeah, I think that little group right there, the VCU, SF Austin, UCLA, Tulsa, those matchups are going to be some of the most interesting to watch of the entire tournament. But for me, the game I'm looking at still, I said it earlier, is that Cincinnati-Harvard game. I really want to see that. It should be the best matchup, I think, of the first round. And I got to ask it, what do you guys think is give me a percentile chance. It hasn't happened yet, but it was the headline on ESPN today on ESPN.com was, it's got to happen eventually, ... right?
16.
Percentage, a 16 seed is able to beat a number 1 seed. If this is the year, finally, first time ever, a 16 seed is able to advance out of the first round. Percentage, because I'll go 0.05. I think it's virtually nothing. But yeah, if it is March Madness, you can't go 0, so I'm going 0.5.
I'm going to go 1%, and that 1% is with the Coastal Carolina.
I'm going to go with 1%, and that being, I believe Cal Poly is up on Texas Southern right now in the playing game. Them beating Wichita State, because why not? 2 mid-majors.
I'm going to say the highest out of the group, I'm going to say 5%, and it's that Virginia versus Coastal Carolina. Because Virginia doesn't usually get, and this isn't coming from me, this is coming from other analysts saying that Virginia doesn't blow people out, and they don't blow people out when they're supposed to. They keep teams in the games, and if you do that, that's a recipe for disaster. Coastal Carolina is the only team that I could see that could be a 1 seed this year, and that's it. I don't see any others. I don't care about Cal Poly's winning big. Right now, 13-19, Wichita State's going to say, like, haha, bam, done.
Yeah, their record is not good at all. But, yeah, Coastal Carolina, even, like, joking around on Around the Horn, that's the 116 seed that people just, like, throwing out there. So, I think that maybe they can make the game competitive because I see that Virginia, they don't really score a lot. They're a defensive team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, defense, of course, is going to help you win, but you got to score points. So, Coastal Carolina might be able to give them a little run for their money.
And before we get off, I'll end with any 15 seeds. I know my girlfriend has Milwaukee beating Villanova, and I scratched my head on that one, but that's okay. She can do her thing. Any 15 seeds doing that. Remember, what was it, 2 years ago where Duke was upset and another...
Duke and Missouri.
Yeah, by the 15 seeds that messed up everybody's bracket.
Florida Gulf Coast was a 15 seed.
They beat
Georgetown last year.
Yeah.
So do you see any of that?
Well, when you asked that question, I saw that American is a 15 seed, and that made me just think about a retweet that Adam, I think I saw you do it.
Yeah, it was my brother. You can give him credit on that. It made me laugh and shake my head.
I think the tweet said, if technically you don't pick American to win the whole thing, doesn't that mean you're un-American?
Yes.
So, sure, 15 seed, look out for American. There you go.
I'm going to go with Eastern Kentucky because I heard that Eastern Kentucky has a couple big guys down low that could disrupt that could potentially show Kansas's weakness without Embiid.
Okay.
I'm going to go with kind of my Wisconsin roots a little bit in my family. I'm going to stay in Milwaukee.
Okay.
They're a team that kind of ran through their conference tournament as they upset teams in their conference. So they're hot, and we don't know about Nova. So why not?
All right, I think that's all we got tonight for college basketball preview. So to recap, I am rolling with Florida. Ryan is rolling with Florida. Adam is rolling with Florida. And Darius is rolling with the Duke Blue Devils.
Come on, Jabari.
So I hope everybody has a great time watching March Madness. Be safe if you are consuming alcohol, of course. And just, hopefully your brackets do well. And if anybody is listening and you do get the perfect bracket and $1 billion, C4 Sports is always looking for donations. I think we agreed to split $1 billion if any of us get it.
Yes, we did.
So, if you want to be a listener and get a complimentary C4 Sports t-shirt, which I will make with Sharpie, you can donate $1 billion. I mean, that'd be cool.
Well, look, if they win $1 billion, they can split it with us, and we can make official t-shirts if we get that type of money. So you will get an official C4 Sports
first one
t-shirt
ever. The first one ever.
If you get a perfect bracket. There you go.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody. My name is Matt, at LManMatt93.
I'm Ryan Mason.
I'm Adam Feiner at Nobody Feiner.
I'm about to say, Ryan, you going to give me your Twitter, or you just going to say your
Mason
name?
_ IL Chief.
And I'm Darius at _Hawk_13.
All right, so once again, thanks to my brother for the question that we got on air. Of course, tweet any of us during the show. And that's it for C4 Sports. I believe we'll be back in 2 weeks, so keep listening tonight for the best in urban music. This is 88.3 The Dog.
Yes, sir.